It's all right. It's all right. Been doing it.
Yes.
Been doing it.
Got to. All right, we ready while you guys munch away?
Yep.
All right, cool. So, Sin, you're kind of advanced into the macro game. Karen is just kind of getting into it. So I'm gonna cover some stuff that you already might know. It'll be a good refresher. But it's also good for Karen to and for anybody else, because I'm recording this, so I'm gonna share this with anybody as well.
Nice.
So your beautiful faces will be live. I'm gonna put it in ABC, CNBC.
You should have told me.
As long as it's not fake news.
No, not gonna be fake news. All right. And also just real quick, in case I do log off, because of the internet, this kind of happened on our last call. If I do log off, just hang out. I think you guys can, from what I remember, you guys can stay in the chat and then just wait until I log in. Freaking crashed on me like halfway through. So.
Okay.
All right, just letting you know. All right, so numero uno, what are macros and micros, which are two different things. So macronutrients are your, oh, somebody didn't want to hear me. The door was just closed. So macronutrients are the big, oh, we got someone else. We got Shara hopping in. So macronutrients are the big nutrients. We're thinking proteins, your fats, and your carbohydrates. So and by proteins, we're talking about turkey, chicken, fish, things like that. Carbohydrates, we're talking about sweet potato, beans, I'm going to put there as well. Vegetables, like those all kind of fall under the umbrella of carbohydrates. And then fats being like olive oil, avocado, things like that. Just so you guys know, a lot of people don't know the difference between the macronutrients. And then micronutrients are smaller things like vitamins and minerals that you'll end up getting from like vegetables and fruits and things like that. But we're not going to dive into that. Like as far as like the percentages on how much to have for that, we're just going to talk about the big boys, which are what make up your total calorie intake, macronutrients. Cool.
Cool.
Karen, does that kind of clarify it a little bit of what like macros are?
Yep.
Okay. Are you still confused in any manner there as far as like what are macros or macronutrients?
No, I'm good now.
No, you good. You got that. All right, good. So that's important. Now, let's see. Whenever we do this kind of plan, what I like most of it is that it's not really biased towards a specific person in a sense, meaning like if you're vegan, you can still follow a macro plan. If you're pescatarian, if you want to try keto, if you want to do this, do that, following a macro plan or a flexible dieting plan helps you regardless of what you're doing. Because the goal of that is to ensure that we're consuming just enough calories to meet a specific goal. And someone's goal can be muscle gain, another can be body fat, body transformation, going up on stage, bodybuilding. So with like macros and flexible dieting, you can literally be from one side of the spectrum to the other. It doesn't really matter. It allows you to work with anybody. Make sense?
Yes.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Let's see what else. What are some other things? Pros and cons. There's definitely pros and cons here. And I'm going to start with the cons first. So let's be real here. It is not easy. You have to be very specific with the weight, like the weight of the food, the amounts. You have to be just a lot more specific if you want to go into this type of approach, this type of dieting. So like you need a food scale pretty much. You need measuring cups, things like that to be able to hit those specific numbers. Because unless you have some like X-ray magical superhero eyes that can weigh the food for you, there's really no other way of making that happen. Okay.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Is something like counting macros, like you guys, do you do this as part of your overall lifestyle, or do you do macros and count that stuff when you're preparing for something? Like is counting macros sustainable for your lifestyle for long term?
Are you talking to me personally, or just from what I've noticed from experience?
Yeah, both, I guess. Like, do you think people should do macros for a lifestyle, or is it like a more short-term thing?
Yeah, so that I'll cover a little more on the pros of it,
Oh.
but you know, just to answer your question briefly, I didn't do macros last year, because for me last year was a big gaining year, so it didn't matter where my food came from. I was just eating everything that I could. I went up about 46 pounds.
Wow.
But for me, it was just more like I needed to be able to eat as much as I can in order to gain as much as I can. And I was okay with that. So in that kind of phase, like a full all out gaining phase, you don't have to do anything like that. So like getting into the pros of it, but let me actually continue here. Let me solidify more of the cons before I get into that. Okay.
Okay.
And then we can, if I didn't answer the question, we can dive into it a little bit more later on, like on where I'm at with that kind of stuff. Okay. So additional cons, you got to be math crazy with it. Like you got to know numbers. You got to be able to like, you know, do the calculations for you. And I've always found it to be most successful if you have someone to help you along the way, to help you figure out those numbers, because they will change depending on where you are. You know, they'll change depending on your goal as well. So yeah, those are the main cons. Oh yeah, and I would say another thing, this is probably more for the advanced dieter, and that's just somebody who, let's say, already knows that they have to be eating protein in every meal, already makes good choices of having fruits and vegetables and things like that. But if you're an individual that is just getting started, new to the dieting game, then like getting into this like specificity and all like this extra work, it's not really going to be beneficial for that individual. And I think from the three of you that I have here, I don't have anybody else. Yeah, the three of you guys that I have here, you guys you're in that level already. But for anybody else, if let's say that is watching this, and you're just getting started, this might not be the first approach that you do. It might just be best, hey, let's start off with drinking water, like drinking enough water during the day, getting in at least, you know, 3 liters of water to a gallon, things like that. Making sure that you're having 1 to 2 fruits and vegetables a day, making sure that you're having protein in every meal and things like that. So if you have all that down first, then we can move on to this, which is why I'm kind of putting it in the cons, because it's not really like I don't recommend this for everybody. All right. So now into the pros. Like once you get the hang of it, it's pretty easy to implement, and it's very easy to manipulate the numbers. Like if let's say you're stuck somewhere, we need to make an adjustment with specific nutrients that you're consuming, it's very easy. I can just be like, hey, Sin, let's drop your carbohydrates by 20 grams, and you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Boom, simple and easy. You can be as flexible as you want to be with the specific foods that you consume with it. So it's not too rigid. You know, there's no black or white here. There's a lot of gray. There's no all or nothing, and that's what, like, I believe this to be like the biggest pro of it, that it's so flexible that it can work with anybody and anybody's goals and things like that. And then also, like, for anybody else is listening, what's great about it is it'll help you, you know, achieve energy balance so that you're not over consuming, which is kind of what ends up happening. Like that's where we end up gaining weight. That's where we end up, you know, with blood sugar problems, you know, diabetes, things like that, because we end up over consuming on calories. And it doesn't necessarily have to be just from sugar or just from fat. It could just be excessive calorie consumption, if that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So this makes you aware of what you're doing, makes you aware, like, the truth about food. Like, you know, when you actually look at what 1 tablespoon of peanut butter is, it's not a lot. And it has a lot of calories if you think about it. And that was like one of the things for me when I was getting into this. Like, I used to have just tablespoon, like, I mean, like tablespoons out of that peanut butter jar like it was nothing. But I had no idea that I was like having, you know, 300-400 calories a serving. I mean, and it was amazing. But at the end, like, once you become aware of, like, holy shit, like half a cup of rice is nothing. And like, this is the serving that my body needs. So that's a big pro of it. All right. Would you guys like Cynthia and Shara, since you guys have been through it, is there anything that you'd like to add as far as the pros go, like on your experience so far? Like, you know, since you guys have been through that process?
For me, I think it is sustainable and I think it's doable. I think you do
For the long term.
For the long term, I do
Like a
think.
lifestyle.
Yeah, exactly. I think if you are, I'm not as diligent all the time. Like I start off well and I fall off the wagon a little bit because then I'm like, oh, one little strawberry, it's no big deal. But then you do the numbers and it's like, wait a second. And I'm exaggerating. Strawberry, it could be a cookie or whatnot. But I think it does actually teach you when you look at what you eat for the day and you're like, wow, I didn't realize that extra cookie was adding that X amount of calories or adding X amount of carbs. Like you realize, and it also has helped me look up healthier recipes for just like, you know, we're sharing recipes for cookies or for meals, and you do get very creative. I think it's been a pro in helping me find better food choices. Even when you go eat out, a lot of the restaurants and things you can look up in the app and it'll have the calories there for the full serving. So you can, you know, eat half of it or not. So I think from that standpoint, it has been very, like you said, a pro. Like it does teach you, if you follow it, it is sustainable. You don't have to stick to a certain type of food. The database is super large. So, and when you input ingredients yourself, it'll give you the macros. It's just a matter of being diligent, doing it, and sticking with it, kind of thing.
Love it.
And yeah, so.
Good stuff. So there you go. I know you've been doing macros for a while. You tried keto at some point. And yeah, I feel like macros has been something that you've been able to sustain longer and like stick within kind of, you know, when you fall off, because we all fall off, right? So you're able to fall off, but then get right back on. It's because it's not too rigid. It's not like you're eliminating carbs out of your diet and you can never touch a carb again, or you can never touch meat again, or whatever it is. It's kind of like, it just works with everybody and it allows you to follow, you know, whatever you want to follow in a sense.
Yeah.
It's also for me, like we've been able to make adjustments to my macros just depending on what my goal is and what I'm training for. So like when I was training for marathon, we changed my macros completely and we upped my carbs a lot because I needed more carbs at that point. And then when I started needing to cut weight again for powerlifting, like we were able to just make adjustments to my macros to like really help me. So it's been really sustainable. We just kind of just change it up as needed.
Right.
I feel like it's something that you won't be deprived with either because you're eating all the food groups.
Right.
Exactly. 100%. And that just keeps you in the game much longer, you know, because that's often where people end up failing. Like when they're deprived, when they feel like it's too strict, too regimented, and it just doesn't allow you to fail in a sense, you know. So when you do fail, you feel like a failure, and that just ends up snowballing into getting lost in the kitchen, eating whatever the hell you want, you know, binges and all that stuff. So,
right.
All right, awesome. Thank you for sharing, Shara. Karen, did that give you some more like clarity, a little more like, oh, this is actually might work well for me and stuff like that?
Totally. You know, I was going to say, yesterday I realized because I record my food, but not in a journal, like on an app. But yesterday I started, like I was telling you. So I recorded my breakfast and I thought I was eating really great because I'm having egg whites and avocado and Ezekiel. But when I recorded it in this app and I realized how much as far as serving size of egg whites I was having, I was eating more than I should. And you don't realize it unless you put it in this app and record it. But I cut back today and I was fine with what I cut back, but you were saying how small a serving size is of rice, or I had like a protein pasta yesterday. It's 2 ounces and you measure 2 ounces and it's like, wait a minute.
It's nothing.
2 ounces
especially with pasta.
You know?
Listen, I don't touch pasta at all because it's so like the amount of carbs in comparison to the carbohydrates they can actually consume, it's not worth it. It doesn't even fill you up.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, like for me, it also helps me because when I look at things like that, it makes me make better food choices because I'm like, I would rather have like a big plate of broccoli and be full from it than have
There you go.
like the same amount of carbs from like a tiny little bit of pasta that I'm gonna be hungry again in like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. 100%. All right, cool. There you go. You're already getting into it and like, becoming aware, which is, again, and going back to the pros of it, it's a good learning experience for you. Whether you end up doing it for the long haul or not, you just become much more aware of,
Right.
the volume of food and how that can end up leading to overconsumption, over calorie consumption, which actually can end up leading into weight gain and fat gain and stuff like that. So simply by making some cuts right there, just right off the bat, that's where the magic starts happening with the body, where, with weight and body transformation and things like that.
I have a question. Do you, or like this is for all of you guys, all three of you, do you feel that regardless of your goal, or not regardless of your goal, because you were saying, Cesar, last year you were just gaining, but when you're doing like a macro for like fat loss, will you always be hungry? Is that
well, ladies, do you want to chime in on that first?
Does that just go hand in hand?
So no, and I think that's why macros really helps you. You're cutting, let's say, for example, you lose fat, you're cutting fats, but you're upping the protein and you're upping the carbs. So you're still getting the calories, you're still getting full. It's just different type of foods.
Okay.
Like one of the things, we were talking about, you were just talking about, you noticed your breakfast changed from yesterday to today because you saw you put the egg whites. For me, it was the avocado. I was like, avocado, healthy fats. I would have half of it. What a difference it is between half and a quarter,
Yep.
Fat-wise. And avocado doesn't even really fill you up, right?
No.
So for that amount of fat that I'm putting in that extra quarter of avocado, I can eat something else with more calorie, less fat, that would actually fill me up more. So I think at first, and even I'm still at this stage, is finding that menu that works for you, that meets the macros as close as possible and fills you up. So that is a little bit of a playing game, because one day your menu is great, but you're like, oh crap, I went over on this or on that. So you got to tweak it. But I think once you find that, you're not full. You're not starving. You're eating the fruits, or you're eating the protein shake. So you are eating, it's just you're eating the right things for the numbers that you want to meet. So that's my take.
There you go. I love it.
And if you make like the smart food choices and you eat, like I said, like vegetables are really low calorie. You can eat a lot of vegetables and it's going to fill you up, and you're not going to be hungry.
And is this something like a daily diet, or is it a weekly, like, is it every single, like, obviously what you do every single day adds up, but if you go over one day, can you go under another and you'll even out, or does it have to be
that? So that's a very specific question and can be done. That's like a later on step.
Okay.
I wouldn't worry about that just yet.
Okay.
And then, like, adding to what they were saying. So for me, when you're getting to the level of leanness that I'm getting for competition, bodybuilding and things like that, hunger is a part of it. So I'm just going to be consuming so little, just enough to sustain muscle and to lose as much body fat as I can to get super, super lean. You guys don't have to do that. You're not getting up on stage. You're not doing a competitive bodybuilding competition. So in your cases, you're not going to be that hungry. And if you're filling yourself up, but even so, you're still not going to be like,
I'm not going to be that lean.
Stage lean is like that level of leanness.
Yeah, no.
Exactly. Like, you're not going to be showing veins with the striations of the muscles. It's just not, you're not going to get to that point. You don't have to.
No.
Even like beach bodies, like, you still have body fat. You need it. But again, if you're doing a competition, that's a totally different game. So on that level, for me, when I get to that point, yes, like, hunger is a part of it. Right now, I'm not hungry. I'm enjoying food. Like, I'm still having like tequila. I have been having 1.5 ounce. I've been measuring it. Yes, I've been measuring 1.5 ounces, saving fat for that. And Karen, that can be a later question if that's a question that even maybe that question was coming up, but we can get into that later on, how you can manipulate or move the calories around to fit specific things. Okay.
Tequila is a fat, not a carb? I thought carb.
I'm sorry?
Is tequila a fat?
No, so I convert it. I use it
Oh.
for fat. I use my fat calories for that. So, all right, alcohol in general, it converts into 7 calories per gram. Like if you were actually to look at the molecules and all that stuff, that's kind of where it ends up going. If so, that's where you can. Oh wait, hold on. Where am I going with it? Oh yeah, so yeah, I had to backtrack. I was already going too far ahead. So alcohol in your body can be used as either fat. It's like a mix. That's why it's kind of like in the middle at 7 calories instead of 9, or instead of 4, which are for proteins and carbs. So like the way your body digests it, it's kind of like in the middle of both of them, if that makes sense. So that's why for me, I sometimes use it as carbs or as fat, depending on what I've consumed during the day.
Got it.
If that makes sense.
Got it.
All right, cool. Let's see. Those are great questions, and I love the input that you guys are also putting in too. It's awesome. All right, let's see. So now let's go into kind of customization and where to even begin with this kind of stuff. Again, Shara, Cynthia, you guys are fairly advanced into the game, but I can answer any kind of questions for you guys since you already have numbers, you've already been through it, calculations and stuff like that. Now, when it comes to the simple strategy, generally, if your goal is fat loss, we want to multiply your current weight times 10. Okay, so let's say as an example, 150 times 10 equals 1500. Okay, that generally becomes your baseline, your maintenance calories. And then from there, we want to create a deficit depending on activity level, training frequency, lifestyle factors. There's a lot that goes into that, but that can range anywhere from 250 to 500 calories below that. So it can be anywhere from 1250 to even 1,000 calories that you'll be consuming.
That's low.
That is low, but we have to create a calorie deficit. And again, this is a general guideline. It's not super specific.
Sorry, I'll jump back in a little bit.
Okay, yeah, go ahead. So does that make sense, Karen? I guess I'm talking to you more.
Yeah,
so
it makes sense. I just didn't realize how low I would need to be, but that makes sense.
Yeah, so like I'll give you an example. Like Nat right now, I think she's at around 1100, like 1150 in calories. And she's doing 5 days of training plus about 40 minutes of cardio as well, extra to continue her fat loss. But again, that's more on the extreme side, right? Because she's coming up, she's gonna get up on stage, she's gonna get into the 100-pound range, which is very like low. Her maintenance weight is around 120 to 125. So like that's kind of where the extreme side of it, you do have to go into the lower calorie range.
Okay.
So again, going back to the simple strategy, you get your weight, you multiply it times 10, and to start, you subtract 250 calories from where you are now. Hello, Oksana, and welcome.
Hey, thank you. Yeah, I'm jumping between my meetings, like better a little bit than nothing.
So Oksana, with you, we already covered a lot of different things. I am recording this just so you know.
Thank you.
If I know you're a little more advanced on the macronutrient game too, you've had
I
your
appreciate
success.
your compliment. I would not consider it that way. But let me ask you a quick question.
Wait, hold on.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay. I'm gonna hold the questions till a little bit later on, like before we get into the specifics for each individual. Let's go back again to the simple strategy. So if you're just getting started, you multiply your weight times 10, you subtract it by 250 to start. That'll start, let's say, around 1250 as an example. And then from there, you generally want to have about 20% of your calories for fats, okay? 40% of your calories for protein, and 40% of your calories for carbohydrates. That's a good general baseline starting point. So,
Wow.
okay, so let's say 20% of 1250, I don't know what the number is, but let's say off the top of my head, it's about, let's say it's 270. I don't know what it is, but I'm saying it's 270. After that, a fat gram, I'm going to say 270 just for math. So 270, divided by 9, which is 1 gram of fat equals 9 calories. So that's why you want to divide it to get your total gram amount. So 270 divided by 9, that equals 30 grams. That'll be your fat intake, 30 grams. If it's less, let's say it's 250, like Shara said, I don't know what that number is going to be, but it might be around like 25. We'll call it 25. And then for your carbohydrates and protein, you have to divide that number. So the 40%, whatever that number is, divide that by 4. And that'll give you your protein amount and your carbohydrate amount. Okay. So a quick little recap. Anybody that's watching this later on, you're brand new to this kind of stuff. You're going to grab your weight, multiply it times 10. Okay. That's step number 1. Step number 2, you're going to subtract at least 250 from that number, whatever that number is. Then see, this is where the math, it gets a little crazy with the math. And, this is where like the coaching comes in, where we can get a little more specific on that. And for each individual, you're going to break that, the total calorie intake, to 20% of that is fat, 40% of that is protein, 40% of that is carbs. Okay. And then right after you knock that step out, you're going to divide each one, the fat percentage by 9, the carb percentage by 4, and then the protein percentage, whatever that total is, by 4 as well. Good general baseline to start with.
And those are the grams, the number.
Those will be your total grams that you'll end up consuming on a daily basis to start. And that number can go up or down depending on your metabolism, how you respond to it. Generally, we don't want like a lot of weight loss. And by a lot, I'm going to say anything like above 4 or 5 pounds, that's already high. We don't want too much fat loss, or too much weight loss in the beginning. So if, let's say we did start with these numbers and you're like, Coach, I lost like 10 pounds this week. I'm going to be like, okay, whoa. We need to up your calories a little bit more. Just because we don't want to overdo it. You don't want to be too far on a deficit. It's not good for your muscle retention, not good for your energy levels, your mood, your hormones, just your metabolism in general. You want to be up in that like 1 to maybe 3 pounds per week of weight loss is a good average weight loss range, a good healthy weight loss range. Okay. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Karen, you got that? Any questions on that for you specifically?
No, I'm good. Maybe we can talk like offline, like another time, about my numbers, because I just did my math, and as far as my numbers go, I should be having 990 calories a day. That seems low.
That is a little low. Yeah. I'd bump that up for you. How much do you weigh now again?
Like 124.
124. I might even, I might just keep it for you specifically, because you are fairly active. I might just keep it at multiplying it times 10 and just starting there. And whatever that number is, you redo the calculations again and just start right there. And then from there, we can make some moves from there. Okay. And again, anybody here, if you're just watching this now, let's say if you're below like 130 pounds, that number might be, I might just multiply your number times 10 and keep it there. And I'll kind of leave it there for anybody that's watching this in the future. If you're like 180, 200 pounds, 220, 240, so on and so forth, things like that, then you can do the suggested number that I did before, which was multiplying your weight times 10, subtracting the 250 or the 500, kind of depending on where you're at. Okay. All right. And then again, anybody watching this later on, if you have any specific questions on that, I'm more than happy to dive into it. Just hit me up and wherever you can, Instagram, email, text, whatever that is for you. All right. Karen, you got some more clarity there for you since you're totally fairly new to this?
Yep.
Awesome. All right. So now I'll open it up to questions. Wait, hold on real quick. Let me just look at my notes. I guess for Sin and Shara, since, we are where we are right now and you guys are fairly advanced into this game, I do want to talk about like a cyclical approach to the whole flexible dieting macro approach. I can dive into that a little bit later, but just to give you guys a little extra strategy, since you're not as active, you know, you're not moving as much, you're sitting a lot, you don't want to be consuming probably as much as you were consuming before. You kind of want to drop that down a little bit. I know with Shara, I spoke to you about that last night.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll dive into that a little bit. I know, Oksana, you had a quick question. Hit me. What was your question?
Oh, damn, I'm not on mute. You hear my cat. The question was understand about the calories, but in the current situation, 5 days of training, don't have actual gym.
Mm-hmm.
What you're showing to us, is it enough sufficient? I mean, understand about cardio. Okay, we can run when nobody on the street, like in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
But how you maintain the training? From calories perspective, more or less, I pretty much was staying in these numbers in time when I was more than current weight. And it's why I was able to reduce the weight, because I stayed in the number which you're currently seeing, whereas my protein was more than like 60% of protein and 40% of everything else.
Mm-hmm.
But for today's question, if how we can maintain 5 days right training, that will be like main question to me.
Wait, say that again. How can you?
Like you mentioned, it's like your wife currently is maintaining 40 minutes cardio, I don't know, each day.
Yes.
And 5 days of training. 40 minutes cardio, I can run outside. That is easy part. But 5 days of training, is it what you're giving to us training? Is it enough sufficient, or we need to, what should I do in order to do proper training? Because one of the things I personally struggle, we in current time of isolation and minimizing going to socialize in any aspect, that it is mentally, we're losing some hormones or something in our body. Yes, the only way how you can maintain this is physical exercising. Then how I can make my 5 days of training productive in the way that it should be, as if I would, like your wife is competing, because I don't have access to the gym. Does what you're offering now, is it enough, or what should I add? Because we need to kill two birds with one stone. Take care about mental health and physical.
Totally understand. Okay, now I got the question. So I would say right now, the way we broke the program up for you guys doing the live workouts, we still broke it down as if you were still coming to the gym. So you're getting 3 days of strength training as best we can. You know, we're doing a lot more. So like example, yesterday we did a lot of upper body, like we did a lot of tricep, a lot of chest and push-ups and stuff like that. A lot of different variations to target a lot of the upper body muscles that, you know, that you would normally be working if you were coming to the gym. And we did it in a manner with things that you might have access to, because you don't have access to a full gym. So we're just targeting the muscle groups as best we can in like a strength fashion on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, as best we can. So if you're following that program, that right now is your training, and I wouldn't change it from there. Yeah, I would definitely keep it going. Like that's, you know, I sat down, I was like, all right, this is what everybody's gonna have access to right now. What are the things that we can do? Even if it's repetitive at this point, it's fine. Like, you know, if we're doing dips more than 2 times a week to target your shoulders and triceps, we're gonna do it. Just because.
But I think so. Okay, so we're working out definitely, but then just putting the type of work we do, right?
Yeah.
Would you say then that our macros should change, where we're saying we're lightly active, right? Because the workout, yes, we're doing it, but it's not as intense as it would be at the gym. So even though we're working out 5-6 days a week, which actually I usually work out less, it's still, I would say for me, right? It's still, I would say I'm working lightly, not moderate to heavy workout, right?
Right. Yeah. 100%.
In those ranges.
Yeah. You're not. So you're talking about the formula that you have, right? That's the advanced macro formula. So, in that case, yeah. Instead, I think you had All right, so Karen and Oksana, don't worry about these numbers. This is
Oh,
not
sorry,
for you.
sorry.
This is for
Blah,
Cynthia.
blah, blah, blah,
But
blah.
actually, my
Exactly.
point was exactly the same what was just asked. I need to stay in range of 900 maximum 1,000 calories. That is what I would put my number, because we're not that active.
Right. And yes, but if you're adding in the extra cardio, so if you're going out for the run, right? If you're throwing in a 30 to 40-minute run outside, then I would keep the calories the same. If you're working out, you're doing 2 workouts a day, keep the calories the same. I wouldn't change it. Just because at the end, you would still more than likely end up creating a calorie deficit because you're stimulating your body twice, as an example. Does that make sense for Oksana,
Yes, but
Cynthia?
you're saying it may be not intensive, but if I take mild intensity but increase quantity, then in the end the number will be close. I'm so glad.
Bang. There
I'm
you
so
go.
smart.
So yes,
and-
I mean, and that can be spread throughout. It doesn't, like, if let's say you wanted to do, let's say you wanted to train every day, you wanted to work out every day, you wanted to do 5 days of our live workouts, and then you wanted to move your days around. Let's say on a rest day, on the 6th day, you go for a longer run, like 1 hour. And then on the 7th day, you also do another, like a hike for 2 hours. I'm just giving you an example. That still would, like, I would not change your calories around if you're doing something like that.
Okay, but for example, like you have training today from 4 to 5 and I have a meeting. Then are you recording and I can do on my own, yes?
Yeah, 100%. We have another one at 5 o'clock too. But if you can't make
I
that
did
one,
not see that. No, I can make it 5. I will be 5:15.
yeah. I put them both in there, both of the workouts there. Okay.
Can I ask-
So Sin, real quick, to be a little more specific on your question, I'd probably move it down a little bit instead of, I don't know if you were doing 1.3 for the carbs. Oh wait, you did a carb sensitive thing anyways, right?
I did a little bit lower on the carbs, although we upped it when we talked, but that's fine. And then regularly I'm sitting down in the office all day, really. So my job supposedly is not active. So my activity just comes from working out, really.
Yeah.
So I think I was pretty low on that range anyway. So I'm just guessing it really should remain the same because I'm working out more days because now I can make the classes,
Right.
but not as intense. So I'm still gonna stay in that low range, right? So just
right. Yeah. So kind of going to what Oksana said about you increased your quantity now for you as well.
Yeah.
So I would definitely just stay where you're at.
Okay.
Yeah.
And can I ask you one more quick question?
Wait, hold on. Karen had a quick question. Hold that question. Let me get to Karen first.
I did. Just as far as burning calories and things like that. Like on a day like today, obviously I want to get out. I want to go for a run. I did the workout this morning.
Yeah.
You recommend, or like my concern is I have like all this muscle, but are these cardio workouts, if I did a run today after that workout this morning, is that too much? Like, am I going to burn? You know what I'm trying to say?
Is it counterproductive?
Right.
Towards your gains, towards you losing your gains.
I mean, but you're saying Natalie is training. I mean, we have different goals, obviously.
Different goals, yeah.
She's trying to lose fat. I'm trying to lose fat too. Is going for a run on a day like today, like a beautiful day like today, okay? Or
yeah, as long as you keep the intensity low. So if you have your my zone, right?
Yeah.
If you were to just stay in the green zone for that specific amount of time, 30, 40 minutes, 45 minutes, whatever that time is for you, you'll be fine. You're targeting more your fat stores rather than like sacrificing muscle, and the intensity is not so high. So yeah, it's fine.
So lower intensity cardio is more fat loss?
Yep.
Really?
Whoa, wait. Okay.
No. Oh.
Again, we're talking about Karen right now, Karen Bauer, right? Because you can also still stimulate fat loss with sprinting, and you can knock it out in 20 to 30 minutes instead. But we're talking right now.
I just want to lose fat. Just tell me how to lose some fat.
I'm telling you. You
So 35, 40
go
minutes.
out for a run, 30 to 45 minutes, stay in the green zone on your my zone, your heart rate belt, which is around like that, let's say 70% range.
Okay.
And then that's it.
Okay.
Oh, am I still on here? Yes, I'm
Yep,
still
we
good.
got
Okay.
you.
All
Okay.
right. Makes
Cool.
sense?
Yeah.
Simple and easy for you, not getting too crazy.
Okay.
Good. All right.
Got to reel back my mind a little bit.
Exactly. All right. Back to Oksana. Hit me. What you got?
A quick question from changing in the weight. Yes, if during our challenge I went 128, then you said take a break, I went back 132, and
Okay.
then normally come back to 130, 131, 130 in that range, which is kind of sound normal. Then if I wake up next day and I'm seeing then my weight 132 instead of 130 yesterday, and I just text and hey, JC, happy birthday, I lost 1 more pound, which was very natural progression without doing any extreme. But coming back to 2 more pounds, can you take through the process, how does it work? Because it's not a fat body, and I don't think it's much about like water weight, not that much drinking. How does it work? And how
to clarify your question, you're asking about weight fluctuations, correct?
Yeah,
and how?
Yeah, that is correct.
Okay, so number one, it's different for men and women. With women, depending on age, menstrual cycles, and all that kind of stuff, all that has an impact on your body and how much weight you end up gaining, losing, things like that. So there's going to be periods in the month that you're a little bit heavier. There's going to be others that are a little bit lower, right? I'm sure you've experienced that in your own way. And then as far as water goes, because if you drink a little less water the day before, let's say if you drink half of what you normally drink, you might actually end up being a little lighter. If you drink normally, you'll go back into a normal weight. And same thing goes with sodium intake. If you had one day where, hey, I wanted to go crazy with hot sauce, because for example, with me, I go crazy with hot sauce. The next day, I might be a pound heavier, and I would feel it like I'd wake up. Well, not spices, just the extra sodium that you end up filling your body up with. So then that's like, for example, sometimes I'll wake up in the morning and I'll have like swollen fingers or swollen feet because like I went a little too crazy with whatever I was having.
Bless you.
Because it's holding water. What you're saying, you may not maybe eat fine, but your spices and sodium hold water, which give extra weight.
Exactly. And that's fine. It goes away the next day, or it goes as you flush it out. You sweat, you drink more water, and things like that. All that'll end up, helping eliminate that extra water.
And if we're talking about body fat losing, and I mentioned you before, then in general, seeing 1% of body fat in average equivalent to 2 pounds of losing.
Wait, no. So, okay, you're going into a different route here. So you're talking about body fat percentage loss, right? What I said before was, on average, we see anywhere from 0.5 to 1% of body fat loss per week for each individual. Depending on what that starting weight is for you, it's going to be different. So if you're 200 pounds, 1% is going to be different if you were 150. 1% of 150 versus 1% of 200 is going to be different. So that's why I said also 1 to 3 pounds is a good average healthy weight loss as well. So if we're looking at body fat percentage, 0.5 to 1% is a good solid, like you're doing a really good job type of thing. If you're in the 0.25% range, like a quarter of body fat percentage loss per week, that's still okay. The ideal would be 0.5 to 1%.
But we cannot measure this, but we cannot measure that on ourselves. No. Yes, only by weight, by the pounds.
But yeah, by the calipers right now for you guys with what you have access to and stuff like that. Just focus on weight. Whether it's losing the weight or not gaining weight.
Okay. I'm sorry, my cat is loud.
That's okay. All right, guys. Any other questions? Anything that I can answer for you guys?
Yeah, how you stay so positive all the time?
Listen, someone's got to be the light, and that's what that's what I want. You know, me and the gym and everything that we do. You know, we got to be the light. Like that's
Okay,
that's
but
why.
you have rainy days as well, yes?
Of course. Yesterday I had a rainy day.
Nobody knows
We all
besides
did.
you.
Nobody knew but me. But yes, everybody has a rainy day. Everybody has their ups and downs. I definitely had it yesterday afternoon. I was kind of like, damn, I was out, you know, we're out of routine, right?
Yeah.
Like in every like aspect of our lives, we're completely out of our routines.
Yep.
So like with that, it's gonna drive you nuts, you know?
Right.
But that's not to say that you can't get back on again and
Oh,
all
yeah.
right, let's think clearly. Right now, we are gonna get through this eventually. Let's just keep focusing on the best positives that we can, like as best as we can. If that makes any sense.
See, Cesar, I have a question. So, and
Yeah.
I don't know if you already covered this. Sorry, I had to jump off the call and back in.
Hit me.
So when you're doing the macros and you're looking at your weight, you know, hopefully if you're losing weight, you're going down a little bit, and you should be tweaking those macros efficiently based on the weight.
Mhm.
But I guess, I mean, you're not going to be, or maybe you are, you're not going to be putting your weight every week, right? The macros might change slightly, if they change at all, week to week. So what would you say is the difference, the weight difference that you should look for to then reevaluate your macros? Like a 5-pound difference, a 10-pound difference?
That's a great question. That's a great question. So
I get them every now and then. Thank you.
so I'll give you my own personal experience right now, right? When I started dieting, and most of the macronutrients that were manipulated were from carbohydrates for me. And fat. We did do a drop. Okay, so I started at, what was it, 75 fat, 240 grams of carbs, and 250 grams of protein. That's what I started with.
Hate you.
I dropped about 14 pounds, keeping that exact weight, that's exact calories.
Okay.
And on weekends, I was bumping up my calorie intake, my carbohydrates to 400 grams. So I was having weekend refeeds that were amazing, by the way. On Saturday and Sunday, I could have my pancakes, cereal, whatever I wanted to on Saturday and Sunday. But again, that's me. I'm a guy.
Right.
I'm experienced with this. My training volume and intensity is different than all of you guys. So don't even try and get to those numbers. Like that's very specific to me. So that's what I started with. And then now after that, I had to drop my fat down to 45, which is where I'm at now. And my carbs are now down to 190, but I didn't do it until we stopped seeing weight loss.
Okay.
And even if it was like, all right, we still got like 0.8 of a pound this week, then I still stayed with those numbers. It was literally until, all right, we're not moving. My energy sucks. We need something. We need to do a little something. So then with that, I raised my calories up a little bit to give myself a boost.
Mhm.
And then I dropped a little bit more, and then bang, now I'm in the almost breaking the 170s now. I'm at 181. I'm at 180, sorry.
So it sounds to me like we shouldn't be looking to tweak anything until we see just no more weight loss.
Correct.
And even then when we're tweaking, we're not tweaking it based on weight anymore. We're tweaking it based on grams off a particular either protein or carbs or fat.
Yeah, usually the protein will stay the same wherever it's at. It's the carbs or fat that we'll end up manipulating. And I would say the first one that we would probably tweak is fat, just because it's the most calorie dense.
Right.
As opposed to like carbohydrates. Like I'd rather you keep as much carbs as you can and drop a little bit on the fat.
Okay.
Does that make sense? So yeah, to answer your question, it kind of goes into trial and error and really seeing how your body's responding to the specific nutrients that you're consuming. Okay.
Got it. Thank you.
And to add additional to that, if we're talking to keep energy level, which is very critical in this situation, then if we need to minimize, then it's better minimize on carbs versus on fat percentage-wise. Then fat gives us more energy level.
Well, carbs are actually your number one source of fuel. Like they're the immediate source of fuel. That's why, for example, if let's say your sugar drops, you would go and have some type of simple sugar because it gives you immediate energy and fuel. So fat is more of a longer term, like longer energy, extended energy. So you don't need that much of it. It'll stay in your body, and plus you already have fat stores. So if you have high body fat, like or even like ideal average body fat, you already have fat stores.
Okay.
So I would say, just like I told,
fat versus carbs.
yeah, just like I told Cynthia, if you were gonna do any kind of calorie deficit at all, I would start first with your fat intake versus your carb intake.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Awesome.
Thank you.
You got it. All right, ladies. This is it for me. I gotta enjoy. I gotta get some vitamin D.
Seriously.
And plus, I have a little balcony again. Like I told the other ladies, a little balcony, nothing crazy. So I'm enjoying it.
Good.
But yeah, ladies, you should get outside, go for a walk, get some fresh air. It's a
I'm
beautiful
gonna go
day.
for a run soon.
Get it.
Yeah.
Get it done.
See you at 5.
All right, sounds good. All right.
Thank you, Cesar.
To close it out, anything else? Anything else I can answer you as far as?
No.
Karen,
I just
gave you some clarity?
Totally gave me clarity. Doesn't mean I'm gonna have any more patience with this, but I'm at least.
All right, good stuff. Sin, what's up?
Nothing. Just again, thank you very much for thinking outside the box and keeping us engaged and really just like, keeping us kind of motivated, because it'd be so easy right now to just like let everything go. So again, thanks for just like making the effort and getting us out there. Thank you.
Thank you
Anytime.
for being the
My
glue
pleasure.
that keeps this family together.
Yeah, anytime. I'm grateful to be able to do this kind of stuff. It's awesome. So
Thank
thank you guys.
Yeah, we're glad
All
that
right.
it's both way. Thank you. Bye.
All right, guys.
Bye.
Bye.